Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Kane. It feels so good to be back to actually playing and recording this game I love so much, and I have to tell you, it was quite hard. And it wasn't hard because maybe I've been missing it, but when you've been doing something for every day for such a long period of time, so basically stopping, and I feel like I'm kind of letting you down, and maybe that's not the right attitude to go about it, but I really feel like I do try my best to actually upload daily and show you my adventures in Isaac and how I tackle daily runs, and not just that, obviously, other videos as well, but this is like my daily thing, it's my daily routine to play Isaac and then record it and then edit it and then upload it and then talk about it. And when that is missing for a prolonged period of time, in this case it was like 3 days, it really does feel like something's off, and I'm really just excited to be back and actually recording this, because I feel like I need this, I need to keep myself occupied. It's not a lot of work, maybe each video takes me like 3 to 4 hours to actually play, record, and then edit. Uploading surely takes 2 hours, but I can do other things in between, so I wouldn't really count uploading as working on the video, but all the rest, it's like a 3 to 4 hour project every day, and it's nice to just keep myself busy while I actually have other things to do. Thankfully, my thesis went well, my infection has cleared up just a little bit, so my ear doesn't hurt anymore. But what's maybe annoying is that I still hear that constant ringing that probably won't go away for another couple of weeks. So if I stutter, that's probably the reason why. It's really loud and really distracting, and I think if you have tinnitus or something like that, my heart goes out to you, because that's probably one of the most annoying things that can happen to you, and to have it permanently, to always hear constant ringing, is probably something that no person should ever go through. But nevertheless, here's the daily run, and it's actually going pretty well. I think with Kane you really can't have a bad start, just because of you have that lockpick, and if you can get a luck upgrade via maybe a lucky penny, or maybe just getting a luck upgrade out of an item, you're pretty much set, because getting those golden chests doesn't really cost you any keys, and even when you open golden chests for free, there's just a bigger chance that you're gonna get more keys out of it. So I think when you have an item like Mom's Key combined with the lockpick, because it's trinket, and some luck ups, you're pretty much paying the item for itself. I don't think I've ever talked about Mom's Key, but that's pretty much because it's self-explanatory. Essentially what it does, when you buy it or pick it up, you get 2 keys, and basically every single chest you open is gonna have more consumables in it. I don't know if it's every chest, I know it's every golden chest for sure, but maybe even regular chests that do give more consumables. But it's such a great item, because essentially for 15 cents you're getting value for 10 cents just for keys, because you get 2 keys, and then 5 cents you're basically paying for the effect, and if you open just one golden chest, that effect is gonna pay for itself, and it's such a solid item. When you pick it up, maybe for the first time, when you're new to the game, you don't know maybe what the effects do unless they're very visual and very telling. You might pick up Mom's Key and you're going like, it gives you 2 keys and maybe a luck upgrade or something like that. That's not that good, but when you actually know the effect, the backgrounds of it, that it actually does increase how many consumables you get, I think it becomes one of those items that you're just super happy to pick up. They don't have a big effect on the game, they don't really have crazy synergies with the item, you don't get explosions, you don't kill enemies in one shot, but it's an item that just makes you feel better to open golden chests. When you see a chest and you open it, it just feels so rewarding to actually do it and just see it explode in a ton more consumables. And I really appreciate items like that don't have necessarily a DPS upgrade, which is usually what you pick up when you want to feel rewarded, but have other effects which make you just happy to see those items and pick them up. There are a few other items like this as well, which I'm talking about, that aren't maybe necessarily DPS upgrades, but they're just very satisfying to use. And I think we should have like a list of items that are just satisfying, that are maybe not as good, but are very satisfying to use. And I think Daddy Longlegs is definitely one of those items as well, because Daddy Longlegs is, of course, a familiar of some sorts, and what he does is stomps on enemies periodically. As soon as you enter the room, I believe at least he stomps once, and then it's like maybe 10 seconds in between before he stomps on another enemy that's currently in the room. When he does that, he actually deals a ton of damage. It's also AoE damage, and there's nothing more satisfying when you actually have a bunch of spiders clumped up together at the start of the room. Daddy Longlegs comes down and just kills all of them in one shot. And I wouldn't call Daddy Longlegs overpowered item. Maybe in some cases it can be quite powerful, maybe combined with Good Not Leaf, you essentially have a wall run because of it, but it's definitely satisfying, and that's what I'm talking about. Another item that could go in the category or range of satisfying items is probably that touch, and I think the main aspect of this is just the visual effect. There's nothing more satisfying, of course this is maybe the theme of this run, satisfying items. There's nothing more satisfying than having razor blades, not razor blades, but sights as your tiers, and I really like the idea of having sights as tiers. what is the problem with me, especially with that touch, is that it feels like this item doesn't do enough. And obviously having damage up and penetrative shots is probably one of those combinations of just effects that you really want on an item. You know, you can't argue that touch is a bad item. But because you get sights, I just feel like they don't do enough. I'm not really sure why, but whenever I picked up that touch, I'm really excited to see the item, but as soon as I start shooting, I just feel like the effect isn't doing enough, you know. I feel like the effect, how it looks like, is just too cool for its actual effect, that it just gives you penetrative shots. I'm not really sure how we could amend that or make it better, maybe add bleeding or something like that, but maybe a better particle effect when you hit an enemy, maybe blood should splatter out or something like that. But definitely, at least visually, that sights is one of the most satisfying items that you can find. Let's stop talking about satisfying items and just maybe focus on the run, how it's going. So far, this run has actually been going pretty poorly, and the reason for that is just maybe a multitude of reasons. Even though our DPS upgrades weren't as bad, so we did get a lot of damage ups, of course, via that starch, and maybe some voided items, which also gave us some neat effects. That really wasn't, but for some reason, it just didn't feel like it was enough. You know, when you hit a certain point in the game, you just feel like you should be stronger than you actually are. And I did try to make it a boss rush in this run, but I missed it for just like a few seconds, and then I had to fight Mom. And what surprised me is that the Mom fight actually took like a minute to actually complete, even though, like I thought, I had enough damage to actually deal with Mom in like 20 to 30 seconds like I usually do. It just proved that this run just wasn't there. Just its capabilities didn't really reach the potential I was hoping for. And because I was kind of forced to go through that, I then, of course, couldn't make it to boss rush, also couldn't backtrack because the boss door closes as soon as you beat Mom. And when that happens, you're stuck in this position where it's good that you kind of have time to explore the Womb 1, but Womb 2, but at the same time you kind of feel that you wasted your time because you were trying to beat Mom and do boss rush even though you didn't really catch it, so for that reason you did miss some exploration bonus on that same or maybe on the previous level just because you intentionally skipped rooms to get to Mom faster. And when that happens, of course, it's a bummer. But what I realized is when I actually got to Mom's cart is that I was at the 28th minute. And again, I felt like this run was much stronger and definitely not in that category where it took me 8 minutes to actually complete both of the womb floors. And I know that the reason for that is usually that the floors are just big, you know, and if you maybe don't have really amazing damage, they're gonna take about 6-7 minutes in maybe the best case. If you're kind of unlucky with the map generation, or maybe if you walk into a lot of dead ends. So you're always kind of forced with a decision to make, should I skip rooms to actually get faster to those objectives which I want to get? And when it happens and you're kind of forced in a situation where you're doing a run slower than you think you're doing, I still caught Hush, so it's not that big of a deal, but it feels wrong when you kind of have that internal timer of how fast you should be doing things, and I definitely have a timer on when I feel the run is going by good or when I feel it's not going by well, because just based off how much time I have left when I actually hit a certain floor. And it kind of messes with me because I'm not really sure if it's just me being maybe decalibrated because I haven't played the game in 3 days, or maybe didn't play that serious in the last 3 days, or maybe it's just because this run felt weaker than it is, because it didn't feel weak, you know. That's my problem, because I was still clearing rooms quite effectively, and maybe that's probably the illusion of just having a lot of good, interesting items which make it seem that I'm actually stronger than I am, but then when I get to the boss fights I actually struggle, and they do take a long time to actually beat. So maybe this was a bit of a rant that didn't really make a lot of sense, but I'm just trying to say that I think I'm just not that calibrated yet, and that my feelings for timers or how fast I should be doing things just aren't really there yet, and for that reason I did miss boss rush. And even though I missed boss rush, I'm kinda glad, because essentially if you have a weak run, what's gonna happen, you're either gonna have to do either boss rush or Hush, and you would rather do Hush because it nets you more points, and you also get some more items out of it, and just overall more consumables, and you also get an additional shop, which can prove to be actually quite useful sometimes. So all in all, a pretty decent run. You might have noticed that I've struggled a bit by talking, and I'm sorry if it maybe was a bit too distracting, and I'm not the kind of person that really wants to put out unquality content, and for that reason I did try to restart the recording a few times. And I think that this take is the best I could do at this point. And again, you know, just bear with me for a little bit. I do hope that you enjoyed this run for what it was, and I hope to see you next time.